Okay, let's lean in and really unpack this one. Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take some compelling material, could be research, an article, sometimes a really potent text like today's, and we just slice into it. We try to get past the surface, find the absolute core insights, the stuff you can actually use.
hmm We try to be a guide through all the noise out there.
And today, yeah, we're diving into something that feels, well, deeply personal, but also feels connected to something bigger, maybe an unseen force in the world.
That's exactly right. What we have in front of us is this singular, really powerful piece of writing. It's presented as coming from a shamanic perspective. The title is Soul Alchemy, Balancing Inner Flames for Magnetic Presence. But then there's this subtitle.
Yeah, that subtitle definitely jumps out at you. What was it?
It's Beware the Seductive Force Within, a shamanic cautionary tale.
Wow, okay, so right away, cautionary tale. That signals this isn't your typical light and fluffy self-help piece.
Not at all. It speaks very directly about hidden forces, ancient wisdom, and yeah, it comes with this explicit warning label practically stapled to the front.
And the language it uses, it's very
Yeah.
rich, very metaphorical, right? Flames, dances, shadows.
Exactly. And it uses these metaphors not just for description, but to talk about something fundamental, our inner energy, how it works, how it flows, or doesn't.
And it seems to really zero in on how our inner state, specifically the balance or lack of balance between these two energies it calls masculine and feminine, how that affects our very presence in the world.
Yes, exactly. It connects this inner balance, which it stresses relevant for everyone, regardless of gender, to our vibration, our influence, and what the text actually calls our magnetic, or even, quite provocatively, our seductive energy.
But that word seductive,
Hmm.
the source seems to immediately want to redefine that, doesn't it? It's not talking about manipulation or putting on an act.
Absolutely not. It's incredibly clear about that right from the get-go. The text states, with real weight, that this whole subject is no light matter. It frames the entire conversation around a really profound caution. If you neglect your inner harmony, this balance of energies, it's not just like, oh, a personal shortcoming. No, the source says it actively invites deep inner emptiness and even external turmoil into your life. It's serious stuff.
So cultivating this energy, it needs to be treated as sacred, not like some game.
Precisely.
Yeah.
That's the perspective. Treat it as sacred work, not just a tool to get something externally. The text actually warns that if you approach this inner power carelessly, just trying to leverage it, it could overwhelm you. It could become destructive rather than magnetic.
Okay. So there's a real sense of responsibility tied into
A
this.
huge amount, yeah.
All right. So our mission today with this really potent and frankly quite cautious source feels like we need to take these warnings seriously, but we'll unpack the wisdom it offers, sure. But just as importantly, explore the perils it describes so vividly. We need to look at its specific view on inner balance, the dangers it sees in imbalance, and then, yeah, the powerful outcome it promises if that balance is achieved.
And throughout, we'll keep connecting it back. What does this intense perspective actually mean for you, the listener, in your own experience?
Right. Understanding the implications for how we cultivate ourselves and, I guess, how we genuinely connect with other people.
Exactly. Let's dive in.
Okay, so let's start with that core concept the source introduces. This idea of an inner force and the sacred dance of two flames.
Yeah, the text kicks off with this foundational idea rooted in its shamanic viewpoint. There's this potent, often hidden force inside every single one of us. And crucially, this isn't just seen as like a psychological thing. In this tradition, this force is inherently tied to a living world, a world threaded with spirit, nature, immense power. We're like a microcosm of that.
And straight away, it links this inner force to magnetism, to seduction, but flips our usual understanding on its head. It argues pretty forcefully that real attraction, genuine magnetic energy, it doesn't come from tricks or ego games.
No, it says it originates solely from a whole, balanced soul. That's the absolute core distinction it makes, and is vital.
So any attempt to fake it till you make it, that's not going to fly here.
Worse than that, according to this source. Trying to mimic the outer signs of this power without doing the inner work. It's presented as not just ineffective long-term, but actually dangerous. And this is where that cautionary framing really anchors the whole text. It's not a gentle nudge to be yourself, it's a stark warning. Fail to cultivate inner harmony, and you're actively, maybe even karmically, inviting chaos.
Wow. Okay. So treating this energy cultivation as anything less than sacred that risks it backfiring.
That's exactly what it says. The power could overwhelm you destructively. It really underscores the weight of responsibility involved in even approaching this inner landscape.
Which leads us right into that central metaphor, the one that shapes everything. The sacred dance of the two inner flames.
Right, your inner life, your very essence, is described as this constant interplay, this dance between two fundamental forces or flames. And yes, it consistently calls them masculine and feminine energies. But, and the source is so emphatic about this, it's got nothing to do with physical gender, biology, or social roles.
Okay, important clarification. So these are universal life forces.
Exactly. Archetypal energies present in the spirit, burning within every single person, period.
So how does the source describe these two flames? What are their qualities?
It gives quite clear definitions and some powerful analogies. The masculine flame. That's described as the energy of action, purpose, clarity, outward-directed strength. The analogy it uses is pretty vivid, like fire carving a clear path through darkness. When you feel it inside, it's like drive, focus, the readiness to lead, protect, initiate action, the directive force.
Got it. And the feminine flame.
That's described as the energy of intuition, creativity, deep emotion, nurturing presence. The analogy is softer, like moonlight guiding gently, or maybe a deep, still pool of water. Inside you, it feels like that warm pool of feeling, imagination, empathy, an open, receptive quality, the magnetic, inward-sensing force.
And crucially, one isn't better than the other.
Absolute crucial point. No hierarchy here. They're presented as equal partners, two essential sides of your inner world. The goal, the definition of wholeness in this view, is their harmonic swirling, their dynamic dance. Synergy, not dominance.
And if you achieve that harmony, that dance,
the source claims your entire energetic vibration fundamentally shifts. You become palpably more alive, resonant, deeply magnetic, and yes, truly seductive, but in that soul sense. Drawing people in through authentic being, not performance.
Okay, but even as it describes this positive outcome, that warning about imbalance comes right back in, doesn't it? Like it won't let you forget.
It really hammers it home. It circles back immediately. Pay heed. Let one flame rage while the other is starved or suppressed. Danger grows. You might, the source admits, feel an initial surge of power from that dominant flame, maybe intense focus, maybe charisma, but it insists something absolutely vital will be missing at your core, a part of your soul left in shadow.
And that's the doorway to the real peril it talks about next.
Exactly, which brings us to the heart of the caution in this source, the section that feels, well, pretty stark. The peril of imbalance.
This is where it gets really serious, it sounds like.
It is. This is where the warnings become most urgent. The core danger isn't subtle. When one flame dominates and the other withers or is pushed down, you become fundamentally unbalanced, soul-level unbalanced. And it's not framed as just a personality quirk. It's a serious, spiritual, and frankly practical risk with real negative fallout.
Does it give specific examples of what this looks like?
Oh yes, very vivid ones, using that masculine-feminine framework. For instance, it describes a man who maybe consciously, maybe not, rejects his feminine side, his capacity for deep feeling, intuition, vulnerability. The source says he becomes hardened. Outwardly, he might seem strong, commanding, decisive, a powerful masculine flame. But internally, the text says he becomes cold, reactive, brittle, or feels this profound aching emptiness. The softness, the receptivity needed for real connection is just gone or buried.
And the consequences of that hardening.
Relationships suffer, inevitably. His energy, while maybe effective in business or leadership, lacks warmth, nuance. It becomes blunt, distant. It might even push people away on a deeper level because that receptive quality that invites closeness isn't there.
So the source is asking you, the listener, to think. Have you seen that? Felt that kind of external hardness that seems to mask an inner void or creates distance, maybe even in yourself?
Absolutely. And gives the flip side just as starkly. A woman who pushes down or neglects her masculine side, her assertiveness, boundary setting, purpose-driven action, the source says she becomes timid or anxious. She might be incredibly kind, empathetic, creative, all wonderful feminine qualities. But without the balance of the masculine flame, she can become unfocused, passive, easily swayed, or just fundamentally fearful of asserting her own needs.
And the impact of suppressing that assertive, self-directed energy.
Her power drains away, her ability to direct her life, stand firm, it diminishes. Her voice, maybe literally, maybe figuratively, softens to a whisper, becomes hesitant. The strength to claim her space is lost.
Again, it prompts you to consider, have you seen or experienced that kind of timidity or anxiety that just seems to drain someone's energy, makes them unable to speak up?
Yes, it really pushes for that self-reflection. And in both cases, whether it's the masculine or feminine flame dominating while the other is suppressed, the result, according to this tradition, is the same. Half the soul is left in shadow, and the text is blunt. It calls the result inner emptiness.
Inner emptiness, that sounds heavy.
It's presented that way. The symptoms described are feeling like something vital is missing, but you can't name it. A persistent ache in the heart, maybe. A mental fog. This isn't just psychological. The source interprets it as a stern warning from the spirit, a signal that the core balance needed for life force is off.
And this inner emptiness doesn't just stay inside, right? It affects life externally.
Absolutely. Unequivocally. An imbalanced self radiating this emptiness will attract imbalance. Relationships become confusing, hurtful. You end up chasing shallow things, validation, fleeting pleasures, trying to fill that void, which, the text warns, just makes the problem worse.
Which leads to what the source calls a major warning, a big danger, the trap of unwholeness.
Yeah, this is maybe the most critical caution it delivers. It describes this insidious danger. When you deny or ignore a fundamental part of yourself, that hidden side doesn't just vanish. No, it goes into your shadow, the unconscious part of your psyche, and it festers there. And from that hidden place, it creeps out into your life in unpredictable, often destructive ways.
Unpredictable ways. Like what?
Like making you suddenly needy or controlling or irrationally afraid. It can hijack your reactions. And crucially, the source warns, this shadow can sabotage your love life by unconsciously drawing you to the wrong people.
Wrong people. How so?
Partners or friends who maybe mirror your own imbalance, exploit your suppressed needs, or just constantly trigger the very wounds you're trying to avoid. The shadow seeks what's familiar, even if it's painful.
So the potential for positive connection gets twisted.
Exactly. That's the painful transformation. Genuine soulful seduction turns into desperation or manipulation. Charisma warps into control. Charm devolves into chaos. It all stems from that fragmented, imbalanced core. This section really hammers home the severe consequences of ignoring that inner dance.
Okay, so after laying out those really stark warnings about imbalance and the shadow, the source does pivot. It talks about the counterpoint. What happens when things are in harmony? The spell of wholeness.
Yes, but it's interesting. Even here, describing the positive, that undercurrent of caution remains. This power comes with responsibility, a point it hammers home later. But the core idea is transformative. When those inner flames are dancing harmoniously, you become, as the source puts it, unusually magnetic.
Unusually magnetic. What does that actually look like, feel like?
It's described as becoming a symphony, not just one note played loudly. Others feel it. It's supposed to you can feel deeply, with empathy, the feminine, and act with clarity and strength, the masculine. Someone who can listen profoundly, yet also stand firm with confidence.
And the source says this kind of integration is rarely seen.
Which is exactly why, it argues, it makes you fascinating. Because you embody both sides, receptive and active, soft and strong. You can't be easily pigeonholed. You're both water and fire.
Like someone who can sit quietly one moment, then move people with words the next. Kind and curious, but also able to lead.
Precisely. And this blend, the source says, feels both safe and thrilling to others. Safe because of the depth and empathy, thrilling because of the underlying strength and authenticity. That's true seduction in the soul sense. Not trying, just being fully integrated.
Does it list specific signs of this balanced state?
It does. Things like being able to feel emotions deeply, understand others, yet still act decisively. Being creative and sensitive, but also setting and pursuing clear goals. Being nurturing and gentle, but also firm and assertive when needed. People feel they can confide in you because you're open, but they also admire your quiet confidence.
And it's careful to say this isn't wishy-washy.
No, not at all. It's described as strength wrapped in grace. The power comes from the wholeness, the integration, quiet authority. And again, a subtle reminder. This comes from the soul, not the ego trying to perform.
Okay, so we see the ideal and the danger. How do you actually get there? This next part seems key. Heed the call of the opposite.
Yeah, this is presented as a core insight, maybe a bit counterintuitive. The path to wholeness, to this magnetic presence, lies in consciously cultivating the qualities you've most suppressed or ignored. Your greatest power is often hiding in what you fear.
So if life has shaped you one way, lean into the other.
Exactly. The source calls it a bold move, acknowledges it feels risky, stepping outside your comfort zone. But this challenging work is what forges your hidden power. You're actively reclaiming lost parts of yourself.
It gives specific challenges depending on which flame might be dominant.
Yes. For those naturally fierce, assertive, maybe driven by the masculine, the challenge is to consciously cultivate gentleness. Experiment with empathy. Allow vulnerability. Practice receiving.
Why would that feel scary for someone comfortable with being strong?
Because vulnerability can feel like weakness, right? Showing kindness might feel awkward. Exposing an emotional depth they're not used to. Goes against the strong one persona.
But the source argues it increases power, doesn't diminish it.
Crucial point. By integrating softness, receptivity, they don't lose strength. They make it wiser, more grounded, more influential. Opening up creates a safe space, attracts trust and intimacy in a way pure command can't. It mentions a man showing tears actually created deep trust, made him real.
And for those naturally gentle, nurturing, maybe more aligned with the feminine flame?
The call is to stand strong. Consciously practice speaking up, articulating needs, make decisions that serve you, prioritize your path, set boundaries.
And why would that feel scary?
Can feel bold, disruptive, maybe even selfish if their default is harmony and accommodation. Asserting their will can feel like risking rejection.
But again, the source says this doesn't drain them, it energizes their soul.
It does. Claiming their strength, their capacity for action and purpose, doesn't make them less nurturing. It grounds them, makes them powerful, able to give from fullness, not depletion. It draws respect, shows they can be leaned on. It mentions a woman saying no, and chasing dreams didn't alienate people, it inspired them.
So embracing the opposite breaks the mold. And this is where it says they become dangerously attractive.
Yeah, but danger in a good way. Danger to complacency. People are drawn to the mystery, the courage it takes to integrate these seemingly opposite sides. They become fascinating because they defy simple definition.
But there's a warning here, too, about how others might react.
Right. The source cautions that pushing towards your opposite might make some people uncomfortable. They might not recognize or welcome the new strength or vulnerability. Your wholeness can challenge your own imbalance.
And the advice?
Stay true. Trust the right people. Those who resonate with authenticity and growth will be drawn closer or evolve with you. True connection comes from being your full self, not seeking validation by staying stuck.
Okay, moving deeper. The true magic, soul recognition. This brings us back to attraction as truth itself.
Yes, it powerfully restates that core theme. People, deep down, don't fall for perfection or performance. They fall for wholeness. It's not about games or tricks. It's about your harmonized inner energies radiating out.
And the result of radiating that.
You stop chasing love or approval. You just stand in your own light, the inherent magnetism of your integrated being. That's what's attractive. You become a gravitational center.
And it's described as subtle, not flashy.
Exactly. Not on a resume. It's in the nuances. Eyes that invite connection. A presence that feels like coming home. A smile that puts you at ease. Sincere listening that makes you feel understood. Just being fully present and integrated.
And another warning here about focusing only on the external.
A crucial one. Don't exhaust yourself trying to force attraction with just style or accomplishments. Shallow techniques fade. Soulful presence built on that hard inner work grows stronger. You're just bleeding energy trying to impress outside if you're fragmented inside.
Because when your vibration is truly high,
when those energies are in harmony, you draw others naturally. They gravitate to your authenticity, not because you pushed, but because your being resonates. Like the wise sage people came just to sit in his presence. Your balance speaks for you.
Okay, now we hit what the source calls the direst warning of all. Beware the shadow's tricks. This feels like the ultimate consequence.
This is where neglecting that call of the opposite, leaving parts undeveloped, gets really severe. The source warns intensely. If you don't consciously develop both sides, the neglected part doesn't just disappear. It festers in your shadow, that hidden, unconscious part of you, and it gathers distorted energy.
And the scary part.
The source says, chillingly, that unaddressed shadow can run your life without you realizing it. The hidden puppet master, pulling strings from the unconscious, driving behaviors you don't understand.
How does this shadow manifest, linking back to those imbalance examples?
Potently. The man pushing away his tender side. His shadow might erupt as sudden, inexplicable anger or deep loneliness despite success. And crucially, it might compel him to repeatedly attract partners mirroring his hidden pain, keeping the wound alive.
And the woman shunning her confident masculine side.
Her shadow might surface as debilitating anxiety with no clear cause. Finding herself constantly caught in others' plans, unable to assert her own, endlessly chasing external approval because she hasn't claimed her inner strength.
This shadow puppet master.
A chilling image, yeah. It controls you by triggering old wounds, denied cravings. You fall for people or situations that activate those unhealed parts over and over because the shadow is running the show from behind the scenes.
And the heartbreaking result.
Pursuing the wrong loves, trapped in painful cycles, trying superficial tricks that fail because they don't touch the fragmented core, ending up feeling more lost, more alone than ever.
The urgency here feels absolute.
It is. The source states it directly. An unloved inner opposite will sabotage your life. Potential twists into manipulation. Attraction warps into obsession. Love descends into confusion. All because the soul isn't whole.
And the universe itself plays a role?
It seems so, according to this text. It says the universe has a way of making you confront what you deny, often through painful lessons. Avoidance isn't a long-term option. The consequences will find you.
Which leads to a blunt mandate. Do not be lazy.
A very strong command. A warning against superficial authenticity. You can't just say, I'll be myself, without doing the work to understand who that self really is, light and shadow. The choice is stark. Embrace and integrate both, or suffer the chaos of fragmentation. It really lays out the high stakes.
So after all those intense warnings, how do you actually do this work? We get to the awakening your inner magnet section, the practical steps.
Yes, the practical ritual, as the source calls it, that your soul needs for integration. And the core action is conscious practice. This doesn't happen by accident or just thinking about it. It requires intentional effort.
And there are general steps for everyone first.
Yes. First, know thyself. Ongoing, deep self-observation. Watch your emotions, especially those big, sudden reactions to small things. That's often a sign your shadow side is triggered, hurt, ignored. Ask, what emotion is hiding here?
Okay, then face the quiet voice.
Carve out time for stillness, meditation, nature, drumming, whatever works. Listen to your intuition, the feminine flame's voice. It might be a whisper at first if you're not used to it, but respect it, even if it doesn't make logical sense right away. Value that inner knowing.
Next, express and create.
This directly addresses cultivating the opposite. Men leaning masculine. Try creative, expressive things, painting, writing, dancing, maybe things that feel vulnerable. Feminine expressions loosen the heart. Women leaning feminine. Take bold actions, speak opinions assertively, lead projects, initiate. Masculine actions ground the spirit, build strength.
Then allow support.
Consciously practice receiving care, help. Vulnerabilities presented as strength. Men might find this hard, but it teaches trust and depth.
And finally, set boundaries.
Practice saying no. State, I deserve better. This strengthens confidence. For women especially, protecting time and energy allows feminine energy to flow from power, not depletion.
Then it gets more specific, detailed steps for awakening each energy.
Right, though stressing both are within everyone. For men awakening the inner feminine, 1. Feel your feelings. Really sit with sadness, fear. Name it. Feel it in your body. Cry if needed. Show your inner feminine she's trusted. 2. Create freely. Hobbies using imagination, music, painting, without needing outcome. Connects to joy, vulnerability. 3. Learn to receive. Notice if you always give. Practice letting others care for you. Teaches trust. 4. Listen deeply. Listen for emotions behind words. Practice empathy. Awaken sensitivity.
And for women awakening the inner masculine.
1. Speak up. Share thoughts openly. Argue constructively. Stand your ground. Strengthens inner assertion. 2. Make decisions. Choose quickly. Trust your logic. Don't endlessly seek approval. Train self-direction. 3. Guard your space. Say no to draining things, people. Asserting boundaries brings respect, protects energy. 4. Pursue goals. Take on challenges for you. Let purpose drive you. Focus awakens drive. Certainty.
And the advice is to start small.
Definitely. One practice at a time. And it will feel uncomfortable. That's normal. The shadow parts resist. Be gentle, but persist. Each step makes you more whole.
And a final caution woven in here too.
Very important. This inner work can bring up old pain, grief, anger, confusion. That's not a sign it's failing. It's a sign it's working. You're finally facing the stuff that was sabotaging you.
And if it gets too intense?
Seek guidance. A mentor, a healer. The source stresses this, grounded in shamanic tradition. Navigating deep inner worlds is safer with an experienced guide, especially with old wounds.
Okay, finally, the source circles back to the ultimate seduction, defining it as truth itself.
The culmination. Seduction isn't performance or tricks. It's the visible expression of your deepest truth, your integrated wholeness. The more balanced you become, the less you try to get liking or approval.
People are just naturally drawn.
Yes, they align with your energy, your authentic being. You stop chasing because your integrated self is inherently magnetic.
And here, at a very end, the crucial final warning.
The ultimate caution. With great inner balance comes great responsibility. Your integrated energy is powerful. It can heal or hurt.
So the mandate is,
Always aim for sincerity, honesty. Use your magnetism to uplift, not manipulate. Let your life be a beacon of integrity, reflecting the wholeness you've cultivated, a direct counter to the chaos of imbalance.
and the deeper purpose behind all this.
It quotes that profound saying, "I would rather be whole than merely good." The goal isn't just conventional niceness by suppressing parts. It's embracing all of yourself, light and shadow, masculine and feminine, into a complete, authentic whole. That's seen as higher than just conformity.
And the ultimate outcome of walking this path.
You become someone who doesn't just attract others. You become someone whose very presence helps them find wholeness too, a catalyst for integration just by embodying it. That's the highest potential described.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, we've really explored this idea of the inner flames, the masculine and feminine dance within everyone, and the magnetic presence that comes from balance.
And we spent a lot of time on those severe warnings, the inner emptiness, the confused relationships, the shadow sabotage that twists potential into pain if that balance is intended to.
Contrasting that with the rare power of wholeness, that safe and thrilling presence, and that challenging, maybe scary path of cultivating your opposite side.
And the practical steps, self-knowledge, intuition, expression, support, boundaries, acknowledging it's not easy, it brings up discomfort, but it's presented as necessary work.
Yeah, this source definitely doesn't offer a quick fix. It's a deep, sometimes difficult journey, but one with potentially profound consequences for how you feel, your relationships, your whole presence in the world.
And maybe that most provocative final thought, that this magnetic energy comes not from chasing love, but from becoming the love your soul is meant to be, by daring to be whole, embracing everything, rather than just trying to be good in a narrow sense.
Choosing to be whole rather than merely good. What does that really mean for you right now? Definitely something worth sitting with. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.